Ted Cruz is the conservative family values senator from Texas. That's what he tells us all the time. So it was curious that late last night, he liked something on Twitter that's got everybody scratching their heads, if you will, as to what he was doing and thinking last night. Let's show you a PC version of the tweet here, or a PG version, I should say. Now, what that lady is looking at is a couple copulating in the living room. She is then excited by that copulation and winds up pleasuring herself. Now, this is a thing that Ted Cruz is very much against. He even wrote legal briefs against pleasuring yourself, which I'll get to in a little bit. So it's not just a silly story, it also has important ramifications, if you will. So, of course, Twitter then immediately exploded, as did apparently Senator Cruz. Okay, just getting started. So he was referencing a porn there. Apparently he very, very much liked it, or someone on his staff or his staff very much liked it. And so there's no question that it was liked, and it stayed up for at least 40 minutes. Now I'm gonna show you a couple of my own tweets here, and we're just warming up here because the main thing I wanna show you is your guys' response to my tweets. So I wrote, can't wait for the Ted Cruz book. If I did it, here's how it happened. Actually, wait. Wouldn't read that book if my life depended on it. Then I went to, first Ted Cruz was known as a serial killer, now he's known as a serial masturbator. What a catastrophe. So now, I'm gonna get to the serial masturbator in a second, because this is not his only masturbation controversy, believe it or not. This is an awesome story. Okay, then I went to hashtag what happened is no longer just the title of Hillary's book. It's the reaction Ted Cruz has this morning when he turned on Twitter. Then here's the main reason I'm showing you these tweets. The responses from you guys were awesome. Here was the first response to that last tweet. Why? What happened with the lady? That's such a great picture. I love that picture. Why? What happened? Okay, I saw a couple of screenshots, and one was the couple in mid-copulation. The other one was when she had gone to work on herself and the guy was outside. And boy, I mean, these are some hard issues to tackle, okay? But Ted Cruz is the man for the job. I know it's a little sticky, but anyway, so now then somebody said in this tweet, which now might be my favorite picture of all time, that's Ted Cruz dialing for Donald Trump with Jordan's crying face on it. You guys are awesome. All right, so now then there's general Twitter. They went to work on it on my homes too, as did he himself. So here is Matthew writing in. It's Matthew D'Ambrosio. Me waiting for Ted Cruz to respond to this drama. Okay, and then here's John Favreau. This is the night that Ted Cruz became president. That's really funny. Okay, then his old Princeton roommate got back into the action. Now, this guy's name is Craig Mazin. He roomed with Ted Cruz, and he is the first one to point out that Ted Cruz is a serial masturbator. So he had pointed this out back in 2016 when Cruz was running for president. He said, Ted Cruz thinks people don't have a right to, quote, stimulate their genitals. I was his college roommate. This would be a new belief of his. Now, so that's an old controversy. I'm gonna get back to that because that actually is the substantive part of this story. Ted Cruz is wanted to put people in jail for pleasuring themselves. I'm not kidding. So I can't wait to see who he's gonna lock up in his own office, whether it's him or a staffer. Okay, we'll get to that in a second. But Craig Mazin, his roommate, now jumps back in today and says, now imagine Ted Cruz is doing this 4 feet below you in the bottom bunk bed. Yes, my misery very much appreciates your company. Now look, if Ted Cruz was a young male masturbating in college, that is not going to be breaking news. And it might actually be one of the most human things he's done. On the other hand, doing it while the other guy is still in the room, I hope not a direction a lot of other dudes went in, okay? So, I mean, how uncomfortable that, hey, I'm your freshman year roommate, good to meet you, good to meet you. All right, anyway, let's call it a night. What in the world is he doing? Jesus Christ, you're awkward, Ted. And then speaking of awkward, just a little while ago, he had tweeted this: we have to deliver now. I believe we can come together. We have to. That sounds like something Ted might say. We have to come together, we have to. All right, Ted, all right. Okay, so Craig is also thinking along the similar lines as I am, his college roommate. Sadly, the fact that Ted Cruz jacks off to mediocre porn spam is the most human thing we can say about him. This is actually his high point. I agree. Well, actually, he was maybe a little bit high and then not high at all anymore after that. But and I don't know that it was mediocre. I've yet to watch that clip, but I thought, I wonder who she is. Why is she looking in? Who are they? How does this all end? I know how it ended for Ted Cruz. Anyway, look, him, masturbating to porn. Whatever, who cares? I don't care. I don't care that he did it in college, although can't have the decency to wait for your roommate to leave the room. And I don't care that he does it as a senator or as a grown man. What I do care about is his hypocrisy. Back in 2004, he was the Solicitor General for the state of Texas. He wrote a 76-page brief. Let me tell you what was in that brief. Let's go to Vanity Fair here. He was defending a state law banning the sale and advertisement of sex toys, or quote, obscene devices as he called them, an offense he then punishable by up to 2 years in jail. In fact, he continued banning obscene devices. He continued banning obscene devices was in the public interest, and the government should be granted police powers for the purposes of quote, discouraging prurient interest in sexual gratification, combating the commercial sale of sex, and protecting minors, indeed. He went on to say, furthermore, using obscene devices, the state argued, was akin to hiring a, quote, hiring a willing prostitute or engaging in consensual bigamy. Now that is, I don't even know where that logic is going. That's so insane, I can't even keep up with that. But if you went with Ted Cruz's logic that he himself wrote, I guess Ted Cruz is a bigamist for having sex with himself. That logic is so insane. Maybe he needed a sex device, so that's him and another object, making him a bigamist of some sort, or that he is basically prostituting himself. It is not my insane logic, it's Ted Cruz's insane logic. This is why he's considered an intellectual heavyweight on the right. And then here comes the killer quote from Ted Cruz and the rest of the guys who wrote this brief. There is no substantive due process right to stimulate one's genitals for non-medical purposes unrelated to procreation or outside of an interpersonal relationship. Wow! He said there is no substantive due process right to stimulate one's genitals. Hey man, here's what I have to say to that. Lock him up, lock him up. He thought that should be a sentence of 2 years in jail if you stimulated yourself in the genital area. Well, if it wasn't him, it was definitely somebody on his staff, one way or another, that was getting stimulated last night in Ted Cruz's office. I assume he's looking to throw them in jail as we speak. This is the insanity that is the right wing today in America. So Frank Thorpe, the fifth, writes in, Ted Cruz just jokes about light porn tweet. So he's trying to make light of it now that he's in a lot of trouble. Not in a lot of trouble, but like in an awkward situation. He says, Cruz apparently said, perhaps we should have done something like this during the Indiana primary. Yak. Could have helped with my re-election campaign. Okay, wait, are you a family values guy or not? Should people go to jail for stimulating their own genitals or should they not? Or all of a sudden like, we should try this in Indiana, man. You know, because in Indiana, you know how the right wing in Indiana is nonstop masturbation. You know what I'm saying? Okay, so now that the joking by Cruz has subsided, who are you gonna blame? Because there's no way he's gonna take on blame. You know who he's gonna blame, his own staff, if you will. And which is correct one way or another. All right, so he said there are a number of people on the team who have access to on the account. It appears that someone inadvertently hit the like button. When we discovered the post, which was I guess an hour or two later, we pulled it down and then up and then down and then up and then down and then we were done with it. Okay, fine, he didn't say that last part. Okay, if you notice, that was a non-denial denial. He said there are a number of people on the team who have access. He didn't say I didn't do it. He's one of the people who has access. He says it appears someone inadvertently hit the button. He didn't say who. And he said, when we discovered the post, we pulled it down. He did not deny that it was him. And he is a lawyer. He writes 76-page briefs. He knows what he's saying. He says, it was a staffing issue. Again, you could take that two different ways. And it was inadvertent, it was a mistake. It was not a deliberate act. We're dealing with it internally. And then we're dealing with it inside, then outside, then inside, then outside. But it was a mistake. It was not malicious. He never denied it. So then finally a reporter, as he's leaving, is like, wait, but is it you or someone else? Was it you, Senator Cruz? And he, according to the reporters, whispered, no. Oh, Teddy, 2 years, lock him up. Which then could be a different porn, which Reality Kings could be interested in. They have made this offer. Reality Kings would like to offer Ted Cruz a free lifetime membership for making our morning so special. DM us, hashtag Ted Cruz did nothing wrong. Yes, today or late last night, he did nothing wrong. We are progressives. We don't care what you do with your own sex life or your own members or whatever it is that you're doing. And if you fire your staffers now, don't do that. Don't to have a scapegoat. Then you'll be short-staffed, which we suspected you were anyway. Anyway, don't punish your staff. That's what you were doing last night. So we don't want any of that stuff happening. But what we do want is for Ted Cruz to come out and say, I'm sorry, I should have never written that memo saying that people who stimulate their own genitals should be imprisoned. That was a terrible mistake of mine, because obviously, at a minimum, someone on my own staff would be locked up if I had it my way. I'm waiting for that apology. That is unlikely to come, but unlike Ted Cruz. But at least we know what an incredible hypocrite Senator Cruz is now, if you didn't already know it. TYT membership gets you commercial-free Young Turks. Download it, stream it, podcast it, get all the network shows, and support independent media. TYTnetwork.com/join.